Well, namaste, lads and ladies. Welcome back, finally, to another manga review. Today, we are continuing the second volume of the very fantastic and funny and very interesting little manga series known as Spy Family. Before I was calling it Spy X Family, but I think its original title is just called Spy Family. Today we have little Anya here, bless her heart, on some interesting chairs. These are actually real chairs. I've done some research and these are proper chairs. Like, the one Lloyd was sitting on was more reminiscent to his job. Like, it was black leather, very comfortable, not something that you would normally get for the home. It's just something like for the patients that he would speak to at his like fake job as a psychiatrist to just sit in so he can chat with them. It's kind of reminiscent on their jobs basically. But with Anya, I believe her chair's meaning is the multiple like voices she hears in her head from people around her basically, which kind of explains why she gets so drained when she's in large crowds of people, because she hears like every people's thoughts constantly, so it's obviously too much for her to handle. I can only imagine what school life is for her basically, which is where we are starting off. Basically, she has been put on a waiting list. She's like top of the waiting list, thankfully, for the Eden Academy. Basically, what the Elegantor guy basically said to the Forgers basically was that when someone drops out of the school, then she will be the first to be called up, basically. And he says that normally, 9 times out of 10, at least 6 or 7 students will like decline the offer to come to Eden Academy. So, push comes to shove, she's finally accepted, and they have a little celebration. They actually kind of like skimmed over this in the manga, and they actually made a full episode out of this in the anime, which was kind of interesting because I feel like I'm kind of glad that they kind of like added more into the anime because it was quite interesting to see how they did it. Anya basically wanted. She's a big fan of like Bondman, which is like this TV series of like this spy that goes around saving this princess and all that, and all these other types of things. Anyway, she kind of wants to be the princess. She wants to be saved by Lloyd and all of that, whilst Curly, the Q-looking guy that I was talking about in the last episode, is the main villain of it all, basically. In the anime, they have like this huge castle that they go to. They actually take a plane to the castle. I think they like rent it for like 50,000 or something. So quite not an easy expenditure just to keep Anya happy, bless her. But she deserves it. She's worked hard to get into Eden, and I feel like she's earned it really. And we've learned that Yor can't handle her drink basically, which is kind of obvious because later on, like she's actually partaking in this little charade as the evil witch, which basically is meant to stop Lloyd or Lloyderman from getting to her. Basically, that's the new nickname that we're giving him, Lloyderman, because of this little interesting thing. So she like staggily walks over to him, still drunk, and then all of a sudden she just throws off this huge kick towards him. It like cuts his cheek open from the side, and it has like this really good shot of her just covered in like black, with her hairs like coming up like tendrils basically. It looks really freaking frightening. And of course she's still drunk, so she's like, "You will not take my Anya from me." She's like doing these huge ass spin kicks and all that. I feel like she was probably taught taekwondo when she was like practicing to become the Fawn Princess. That's her code name as a assassin. In the anime, she just slips up and then falls asleep. In this, she actually snaps her heel on her boot, still slips over, and falls asleep, bless her, which is still interesting. I feel like she could have killed Lloyd if she'd have landed one of those kicks, so thankfully he's at least trained as a spy to at least handle himself and like close quarters combat in a combat situation. He did very well not to strike her back. He just avoided her at all costs. Really, very good control from Lloyd. And then Curly does like his little 2 minute speech of like, "Oh, you will never get," and then he just smacks him square in the face and knocks him out. I wasn't expecting him to like hit him or something. I was just like expecting like a pretend little chop, but no, he just outright slaps him in the face and just knocks him out. Anya breaks character, bless her heart. She like runs up to Papa and calls him Papa, and then they have like this lovely little moment where they're looking out at the moon basically, and Anya tells him that, you know, she's going to work hard at school, basically. And then we get to Eden Academy's opening ceremony day, basically. She meets a few people. She meets a new friend known as Becky. Becky is apparently, I believe, either the Vice Prime Minister's daughter or something like that. I can't quite remember the father of her, but yeah, he's very important, basically. As is Damien. Damien is the son of the main villain, which Lloyd is trying to gain information on and intel, which I believe is Donovan. Donovan is the main villain, and Damien is his second younger son. Of course, doesn't go quite well to plans, really. Obviously, she can read Damien's mind. He's kind of narcissistic in a certain way towards her. He basically looks at her while she's looking at him. They both catch each other's eyes, and then he basically says, "Ah, fresh meat and all that stuff. I bet she's going to fall for my charms, looking at me like that." She just scoffs and looks the other way, and then he kind of turns away and goes, "Ah, the shy type." Yeah, yeah, a bit creepy. But anyway, they're like 6. You know, you wouldn't be thinking stuff like this when you're 6. You know, well, I don't know how old Damien is, but at the end of the day, like 7 to 8-year-olds don't think like this at the end of the day. But it's a comedy. Just got to roll with it, basically. Later on, she does like this thing. I should probably like do some explaining first before I get to this bit. So after the whole opening ceremony, they basically go home. They're studying really hard and stuff like that. And then Lloyd goes to work. And then Yor takes Anya to a little marketplace to get some food and all that, where Anya unfortunately runs into some ruffians. They try to kidnap her, but then Yor comes out of nowhere with her shopping bag and just smacks the living shades of shit out of one guy. They assume her to be the nanny, so they think that she's not going to be like hard to handle, like a bit of a pushover. And there's this fucking great bit where where a guy picks up a melon, is about to throw it at her, but she chops it in half with her bare hands. After they say something like, "Ah, well, you better be paying us good, nanny, for like what we're about to do, because you're about to lose your job for getting their kid kidnapped." After she chops the melon in half, she says, "I am that girl's mother," and then they just run away. And then she has like an apologetic conversation with Anya, like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like go over the top, and I'm sorry I took my eyes off of you." She really does care for Anya, which is quite sweet. Even though she's not her daughter, she really is a good mother figure towards Anya. And I feel like that's something an awful lot of families miss out on, really, is having like that parental figure that knows a good balance within the family. An awful lot of families these days don't have that. Like, you have the mother who's meant to be the caring, understanding type that is willing to like help you grow through care and emotional support, whilst the father is meant to give you trial and error and disciplinary things. Not that mothers can't be disciplinary, and not that fathers can't be caring, but it has to have that balance, basically, between the father and the mother, basically, so the child at least can grow up with a good understanding of what it means to handle the adult world, basically. I'm not saying that, some people that don't have mothers and fathers can't become, functioning members of society and do good and all that stuff. It's just half the time, it's just upsetting that some families don't have that type of situation going for them, really. And that's the wonder why some people tend to fall off of the scale when it comes to like the right path, basically, when it comes to being a better person, really. It's just unfortunate, really. Let me just push this forward a bit. This camera's going down a bit too much. There we go. So, with that, Anya takes it upon herself to ask Yor to have her train her to prepare her for school in case of anything like that ever happening again, basically. Ooh, a spider. Come here. Oh, come on. Come here, bud. Come on. Love spiders. Absolutely love spiders. Ooh. There we go. Come on. It's a baby. You see it? I've lost it. It's now crawling up my arm and I don't know where it is. Oh god, I hope I'm not crushing it. Give me a minute. It's just crawled up my arm. Hold on a minute. No, get out of my arm. Oh, there it is. Oh, please tell me I didn't hurt you. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on. It's very intelligent. It doesn't want to crawl up my hands. There we go. Oh, it keeps falling off. Come here. Come here. Sorry, guys. I'm meant to be doing a review, but here I am trying to take care of a spider, you know? See it? Oh. Good Lord, come here. See it? It keeps falling off. It's like a little baby. Is it on the web? No. Come here, you little bugger. Every time it crawls on my hand, it just runs away, basically. It's like it knows that I'm alive. It fell off again. Well, I'll keep you there for now. You should be okay. You'll probably see him crawl up in the camera in a bit. So yeah, with Anya and I've forgotten the name, Yor. Yeah, she basically teaches her how to defend herself, which leads to a little confrontation between Anya and Damien later on. And there's like this bit where Yor tells Anya, like, you know, to become like a cool lady, just scoff and not care what people think. And it works wonders, really. Just don't care what they think, and you know, you'll just go on with your days. And the spider is now crawling on my camera. It's crawling on my camera. Come here. Come on. Come on. It's crawling around it now. It's okay. And it does like, she does like this little smirk, like she doesn't know she's smiling. It's basically just smirking. It's really freaking hilarious. Like in the anime when I first saw it, that's the smirk. It looks so good. It looks so good. It's like she doesn't realise she's smirking. And this pisses off Damien basically, to the point where he like gets in her face and starts calling her an uggo and all this horrible stuff. And kids are terrible. Like, there are some lines in this that I could not expect like kids to say at their age. Like, there's like, oh, you ugly F, like you're, well, not, they don't swear, but you know, like your pink hair is bleh, you've got stubby legs, you know, oh, go die. Like, go die. They're 6. Where are they hearing this from their parents? It's terrible. Anyway, then there's this section when they're in the hall. He gets like in her face again, like really freaking close, and like takes the pee out of her father and like his background as a self-help psychiatrist. Like, oh, he's poor, he's probably nobody and all that bull. And then she like checks if the teacher's looking, and then she just turns and wallops him in the face, not expecting it. Just turns and completely smashes him in the face. Really could not believe what I just saw. There's the picture of it. Beautiful as it is, good artwork. Like, calm as can be, just punching the living crap out of this poor kid. And then she has the audacity, when the teacher comes over, she says, oh, I held my fist out and he walked into it. And then one of the other bullies says, like, that's bull. Like, your fist mark is in his face. And then she goes, can you prove it? Just like how the kids then say, oh, could you prove that we stepped on your friend's foot? Because that's what she uses as the excuse to like why she punched Damien, because he barely stepped on her toe. And then later on, unfortunately, the plans for Lloyd basically go under the radar, really, with that whole like, I'll get like Damien and Anya to be friends, so then that way he can meet Donovan at their house whenever he goes to drop her off at theirs or pick her up, whenever they're friends and all that stuff. So those plans are kind of out the window. So he has to try his best to help teach her to study, to at least get 8 scholar marks. Well, 8 marks basically to become a scholar. And unfortunately, with the way things are going, she ends up more than likely getting a bolt for hitting the poor kid in the face. If you get like 8 bolts, then you're expelled. But if you get 8 stars, then you basically become an honor student. Basically, that's how it works. She unfortunately can't understand the studies, which leads to your kind of giving helpful advice to Lloyd on how to encourage Anya, basically. And even though it's not her place to say, she still gives good points. And that's what I've really never liked about, like dating single mums or dating single dads. Because if you're the single mother, in yours case, you can't just come in and tell like the dad how to raise the kid. But then at the end of the day, they're there to help you raise the kid. You have to like give leeway at the end of the day. It's like if I was a single guy and I dated a single mother, never would date a single mother, that's suicide. But in this day and age at least. But if I dated a single mother, I would never have a leg to stand on. So then I think to myself, why am I helping you then? Like, if you're not going to listen to me in one way, shape, or form, then how am I supposed to help you raise your child? But then she could be like, oh no, it's my child, I raise it the way I want. Well, I'm sorry, dear, but the reason I'm in here is to help raise the child. You have to listen to some good points when your points aren't reaching the child, basically. And that's what Lloyd does really well with Yor. He kind of lets her know that, I thought I was doing well with this. I was meant to be the exemplary father, but unfortunately, this is the one task that I've never was able to get a handle across. And he thanks Yor for basically like waking him up to basically understanding Anya in a different light, basically, because Anya is not a contract. Anya is a person. You have to understand how to raise a child from their point of view, how to better understand them, and how to better be equipped to handling them as a person, basically. So he thanks Yor for that, because Yor is quite caring when she wants to be, basically, which is kind of ironic, being an assassin, basically. And then later on, he basically tries to get her in every way, shape, and form to apologise to Damien, but I'll get to that in a bit. This is like after he goes into her room to ask her if she's willing to like watch a little bit of telly and then practice some fractions afterwards. So that he finds her studying at the table. So she really does love Lloyd. She really loves Lloyd as a father, basically, and she's trying hard to improve and to impress him and to be to get him to be proud of her, which is quite sweet and lovely, really. So with that, we then cut back to the school where Lloyd is in every single disguise, in every way, shape, and form, trying to get Anya to like get her to apologise to Damien. She's trying to apologise, but Becky keeps pulling her away from him because like, oh, girl, you don't have to apologise to no man. He don't deserve your apology for anything. And I'm like, girl, stop it. She has to apologise. You physically assaulted someone. You have to apologise. Anyway, after she gets like distracted by Lloyd's in one way, shape, or form, I can't remember what he does. I think he like sends her a message like from another kid or something like that. She walks off on her own, and then Anya's left there in the canteen. She's hearing all these like thoughts and all these hateful comments from all these people around her because they think she's like an abusive classmate. They think that that she'll murder them or something just from her punching some guy because he was pushing her and pushing her too much. Like, it's self-defense at the end of the day if you're going to do all that crap. Someone's going to lose their top at one point. Anyway, she can't handle it all. She starts bawling, bless her heart. And this is where Damien starts to fall for her. It's very odd because there's like this instance before she starts crying and apologising where he like thinks about the times that she's looked at him and he's looked at her. So he starts to fall for her, but he doesn't accept it. He's like, I'll never forgive you for what you did. I'll never forgive you. And then just runs away. As you do, like when kids do this types of stuff, it's very obvious, when you're a boy in the playground, you pull on the girl's hair. That's how you show that you were interested. And the girls normally push the boys over. That's how they showed they were interested in a certain sense. It's just crazy, like schoolyard crap, basically. But it then kind of ends off later on with her studying a little bit more, it then comes to her in the classroom where the teacher asks, like, what is this particular answer to this solution? She stands up all confidently and goes 2/3. Very proud and predominant. Becky's looking at her with awe. Damien's like looking down at his fingers, like, and then the teacher looks her dead in the eyes and said, "That is remotely not correct." And Anya's face is so perfect. It's just like deadpan. Like I, where is it? It's so deadpan that it just makes me crack every time. That's her face bawling. Bless her. It's really freaking adorable. Oh, where's the thing with her face where she's like asked the question? There it is. There's the face. It's just like really deadpan. Anyway, it cuts to the bit where we meet Yuri. Yuri is Yor's brother. This is the same brother who got his ribs cracked by Yor for hugging him too hard. Bit of a siscon, not gonna lie. He loves his sister a little bit too much. I mean, like, I love my sister, but Jesus Christ, I think I'd be thrown in jail from how much love this guy gives his sister. It's very creepy. He's working in the inner circles of the society, or I can't remember what it's called, but he works for like the government basically in the east. I believe this is the east, whilst Lloyd is from the west basically. So he's interrogating this guy. He has info. The guy is their inside man for Lloyd and Curly and all that. And also there's a handler that we meet later on, but I don't really want to talk about her because she's basically meant to be his Q to James Bond, basically. But I prefer Curly to be the Q because he looks the most like Q from the most recent adaptations from James Bond. The handler is meant to be like a lookalike for Miss Moneypenny or something like that. I don't know, big hat and all that stuff. I mean, did Moneypenny ever wear a hat? Might have done. Like a very big hat. I don't know. Either way, it might be a reference to something somewhere. Anyway, Yuri basically takes it upon himself to try and meet up with Lloyd and Yor for a little family get together. And then it kind of cuts off at the end where it kind of shows that he's late because he was too busy interrogating this guy, like probably beating the crap out of him for like giving away documents that could endanger the lives of civilians, including his sister. So of course I'd be P too. So of course I'd probably have to throw in a few licks on him as well if he was willing to like endanger my family in the same way, shape, or form. So I don't blame him for going off on the guy like that. Cuts to them meeting for the first time, like as they open the door to one another with smiles plastered upon their faces. Lloyd's smile is obviously fake, as is Yuri's, because he doesn't think Lloyd is a good choice for Yor because he doesn't really know anything about him, which is always dangerous. You want to know everything about the person that is going to be taking care of your family members for the rest of their lives, really. See, this is why I can't be a dad, especially if I had a little girl, because obviously I'd be super protective and all that. I mean, I wouldn't let my daughter be like a daddy's girl or anything like that. No, no, no. I'm gonna give her like discipline and all that shit. Don't worry about that. It's just I wouldn't let anything happen to my child, you know. And if it did, hell to pay. Hell to pay. It's funny how you act differently around your daughter and how you would act around your son. You know, like especially if they're like dating. You know, like imagine that you're talking to your daughter and you're like, no, listen, sweetheart, I don't want any funny business with this lad. But if it's your son, you'd be like, "Oh, son, give her one for me." Why did your dad say that? Give her one for me. Fuck off, get your own, you know? It's fucking bad, you know? Anyway, it ends off there. There's a couple of bonus scenes after that, but I'm not going to spoil that for you. That is Spy Family Volume 2. It's a very good read, very funny, very intriguing. Anya has finally gotten into Eden Academy. She's made some new friends. Why I say new friends, some enemies to friends type of deal, basically. It's going to pick up. It's going to be more interesting. And the next volume will be covering the little family get-together with Yor, Yuri, and Lloyd. Anya, I believe, is asleep at this time. She's stayed up a little bit too late doing some studying and watching Bond Man. So she's gone to bed. So we'll probably cover the next episode maybe in the next 2 weeks or so. I kind of want to cut these down a little bit shorter so you guys can at least see more book reviews rather than gameplays, because sometimes the book reviews I can get done quite quickly. There's like very little editing compared to gaming. Basically, I've got to do an awful lot of hours work on editing just to make sure that everything's cut down for you guys, so it's not too long and arduous. Anyway, now that Little Misfortune has ended, I will be focusing a little bit more on Bloodborne. I'm going to put out some more DVD content, and I will also be studying First Class Trouble. I've gotten into that game. I've really enjoyed it. I love the game of deception and lies and murder and escapes and all that stuff. So it'll be fun to play. And I've got an awful lot of interesting stuff for you to see in that. So with that, lads and ladies, I thank you all ever so much for watching. And as always, my friends, take care, and I will see you all in whatever I do next around here. Take care, my friends.